Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and this is Charlie.
Hiya.
And welcome to It's a Charlie Thing. Today has been rife with technical difficulties. I have aged about 70,000 years because of it. My internet seems to have stopped working. I'm currently employing a hotspot through my phone thanks to the advice from Charlie's husband. So thank you, Richard, for actually meaning that today's episode could happen. But Charlie, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm actually good. Yeah, I'm good today.
Yeah,
This is as much enthusiasm as you'll get from me. No,
yeah.
I'm
This is
joking.
well. To be fair, I think you should have a little bit more enthusiasm because of what we have happening today. Would you like to let everyone know what is going on today?
So today you've got a wonderful episode. We spoke to the brilliant, the fantastic, the
The
amazing,
phenomenal
all of these adjectives. Eric Carl Anderson of Lonesome Reader.
Eric is a book reviewer, a reader, a book awards host, and all-round general nice person. Although, you know, he gets to talking about that in the interview, the chat, whatever we want to call it. I think that in terms of all the chats we've had with folk, this might be one of the times where we actually got to speak to somebody who enjoys going off on tangents as much as we do.
I
And
love that
so
though.
we had some great mazes of conversations going on. We got to find out so much.
Yeah,
Anyway,
definitely.
do you think we should just go straight into the interview, Charlie?
I highly recommend it. It's a
Yeah.
really, really good one. And yeah, Eric was brilliant. So yeah, thank you, Eric.
Yeah, we won't keep this from you any longer. Here is our chat with Eric Carl Anderson.
Hello, everybody. Today's special guest is the wonderful, amazing Eric Carl Anderson.
Hello.
Eric was originally started as a blogger and then onto YouTube and has subsequently after that even produced books and things and also has been a book judge.
Currently a book judge. I'm
a
judge on the British Book Awards. So,
Which category are you a judge for? Because that's one thing I was going to...
For a debut. So yeah, been reading a number of debut novels, and yeah, we're meeting next week. So I need to finish them all. But it's very difficult when there's so many other tempting books to get to from the Women's Prize.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh yeah, so much temptation around because you've also got the International Booker as well. So yeah.
Book prize season.
Yay! So much fun. We'll start with go back to basics. So have you always been a reader? Like, how did you get into reading? All those things.
Yeah, I would say I've always been a reader. I mean, although, in high school, I guess like a lot of teenage boys, I was more interested in like video games than reading. Although I did like read a fair amount as well. Like I remember reading Shogun, that great big epic novel, as well as 100 Years of Solitude, and I feel like Jurassic Park was like the first. Was one of the first books that really like excited me and got me into reading. Although, but I was also really interested in or really keen on fantasy books and stuff as well. And but it was only really kind of later in my high school years and when I started at university that I got so keen on reading and just wanted to be reading all the time.
Oh, that's so cool. After that's when obviously your reading escalated. When did you, so I know you created your blog in 2000, is it 2013 you started your blog? Is that right? I don't know if my research is right.
Yeah, it was, or was it a bit later? I can't remember, but probably around then. Yeah, it's been a long time. So yeah, I know I'm quite in internet terms, I'm quite a dinosaur in that. I've sort of been around for ages.
You're not a dinosaur at all, but like,
No, we just say prolific. That's all we'd go with, just prolific.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Yeah.
Exactly. What made you start your blog? That's like the first thing. Like, kind of why did you start your blog? Lonesome Reader, links in the description, by the way.
I just want to connect with other readers. Since I was reading all the time, I had a little notebook in which I kept notes about what I was reading, but I was so curious to discuss what I was reading with other readers, and even though in my personal life, like I had some friends who did like books, but inevitably the people that I know in real life aren't often reading the same books that I am, and yeah, I just I started going online and came across some book blogs and thought, oh, this would be a fun little thing to start myself, and so yeah, I just started this book blog with kind of no aspirations or intentions beyond just kind of geekily writing out my thoughts about what I was reading and hopefully connecting with some other readers online that had read the same book to see what they think about it too. And then like over time, I just started connecting with lots of other book bloggers, and that was like around the time that. I mean, it was the only reason that I joined social media and like Twitter was to start connecting with other readers. And this was back in the good old days of Twitter when people just had nice conversations about books, and before it descended into the cesspit that it evolved into. Yeah, and so it just sort of built up from there, and naturally over time as I was posting about more and more books, then some of the publishers of those books got in touch with me and said, "Oh, would you like to see some more books and stuff?" And yeah, it just kind of kept building up more and more from there. And yeah, it really had no expectations that it would become such a big part of my life. But I still have a full-time job that's outside of all of this, and that it has nothing to do with it. But it's become so much a sideline part of my life that I spend so much time on, and that I love, because I just love new books. I love book prizes, and yeah, so it's just my excitement for it hasn't waned. It just like keeps building. The more that I keep following these things, yeah. So.
I love that so much. Do you remember the first books that you reviewed and things like that? What were your first experiences? It's such a different. It was just such a different vibe back then, wasn't it? To how it's all
Yeah.
changed.
I remember one of the first books I posted about on my blog was Eleanor Catton's The Luminaries. Such an amazing book. Actually, I just convinced a friend of mine over the weekend. We were in a bookshop together, and she was looking at The Luminaries and was like, oh, this sounds interesting, but it's very big. And I was like, it's worth it. Trust me, it's such a gripping, fascinating novel. And yeah, so that was one of the first books I wrote about, and yeah, I had a few responses to that, because obviously there's so much to say about that book, because there's so many storylines and characters, and yeah, and I enjoyed that interaction so much, and seeing other readers' points of view about that novel.
Have you read that one, Charlie?
I did, and I am in agreement about that. It is one of those very daunting books when you start it, but then there is a point in there where it just starts speeding along. And yeah, it's very dramatic in the end.
Yeah, it takes on a real momentum. And
Considering the book reviewing online, when you're reading them to judge, as opposed to like just reading them for enjoyment, is there something different in the way that you're going about that?
Slightly, in that it kind of depends upon the criteria of the book award.
Right.
And so, for instance, with the British Book Awards, it's more an industry book award in or set of book awards that so in addition to the content of the book, we need to consider the publication around it and the sort of the marketing and sales of it, which is a slightly strange thing for me to think about, just because I've never worked in the book industry, and so that's something that I definitely don't naturally think about when I'm reading a book, other than the fact that it might be either a very obscure book that I've not seen anybody talk about, or it might be a very popular book that lots of people have opinions on already. But when I go to read it, I just try to take the book on its own merit and just try to consider, what it really means to me. But with so many book awards, the criteria that the judges are supposed to be reading these books under are often quite nebulous sort of categories of like readability, which, I mean, what does that really mean? Most of the time, like regardless of whether I'm reading a book, judging it for a prize, or just reading it on its own for complete pleasure, it really only matters to me of how I really connect with that book, and if I think, although like always when I read a book, I try to keep in mind, like Virginia Woolf had this essay about, I think it's called something just like how to read a book or something like that, where she talks about the process of reading and how we as readers should take in the content of a book, and she likens it to a courtroom where we should read it first as the defender and really try to take on what the author was trying to do in this book, and really try to see it as the author has created it. And then once we finish the books, then we can switch to the judge's position and then place our judgment upon the book in that way. So that's I think that's like instinctually how I try to approach reading, which is probably why I have a bit of a reputation of being a very nice reader, or very nice in my responses to books. Like overall, I can be quite critical, if but it's very rare that a book, and a book would have to be like quite, I think, almost like actively offensive to me to for me to really, give a savage review of it or something like that. Whereas generally, I try to really like see it from, I think initially from the author's point of view, and think about what the author was trying to do in this book, and then point out whether I think that was successful or not. And I think that's also partly because when in my late teens and early 20s, I was so keen on writing and wanted to be a writer, and was really enthusiastic about that. But then I think in like my mid to late 20s, I just, my all of my desire to write myself just kind of vanished, and I really haven't had any desire to do that since then. I've just been so much more interested in reading books and responding to them, and discussing them with other readers. So sorry, I went off on a bit of a
No, I love that.
Tangents are fine. We love a tangent over here.
And I do think you give like you do always see both sides to things, and like even if you haven't enjoyed it, like you said, you're very good at saying, like, always seeing other elements to it, and like unpicking it for the reader. So you don't always like put your
thoughtful reviews with you, more
Yeah, you don't-
considerate. Whereas I can just be quite mean, like, no, didn't like it, exists, goodbye.
Yeah,
But
which
then-
is, I mean, fair enough as well. I mean, lots of readers, have had that response, because it's just, where you're coming from.
But when you really don't like a book, I think that just amuses everyone even more, because like you can, and also you're quite I feel like you're quite expressive, so you can tell. Like I feel like I can. Maybe it's because I'm watching you for a hot minute, but you can tell when you don't like something. Kind of like with Bob, sort of similarly. And then you're like, then I always think to myself, if Eric doesn't like it, I will still always try it, because I like you say, you always tell people to try it even if you haven't liked it. You're so good like that. But I do think I approach it with more caution if Eric hasn't liked it. That's what I do, because it's not very often that happens.
Well, I find often, like, weirdly, when, if I really dislike a book, that almost, has the opposite effect, where I get a lot of responses from readers that say, "Oh, I really want to read this now," because it's so often, it's so rare that you have that response to a book. So I want to see, if I agree with you, or So it's kind of funny that way.
It might be a good publishing idea for people just to start sending you the books they think you might dislike, then, just in the hopes of getting that review.
Don't do that to Eric.
But also, like, I'm really not someone that is into hate reading. I know there's like some creators online that will read a book of like I'm going to read the worst reviewed books on Goodreads or something like that, and I just kind of think, like, well, why would you do that when it's pretty
when it's
a
clear.
general agreement that it's not going to be a good book? And as we know that as readers, we only have so much time to read, and why wouldn't you just want to read books that are either quality, or books that or have a good likely chance of being a really quality book, or a book that you personally will really enjoy. And it's partly why I enjoy following book prizes so much, because quite often the judges of book prizes will highlight books that I've not heard of before, and that will be really fantastic surprises, and that I'll and will feel like great discoveries, or just be, or will also be celebrating books that, so many people agree are generally some of the best books that are being published at the moment, and that's really what I want to focus on most, and be reading the most, and rather than just trying to read a book just to have another
Salty take on
negative
it.
or like spiky opinion about it. So that kind of looking for more attention. But it's something too that I think that is slightly misunderstood in the book creator community, in creators' dealings with publishers, in that often there's the criticism that some creators will just give positive reviews to a book, that a publisher will then send them more books for free, which I don't think is the case at all, or at least amongst reputable marketers, amongst publishers, because they will want to send books and really want honest reactions to them, whether that is positive or negative. And I mean, obviously they would be hoping for positive, but yeah, I've certainly had the case where some publishers like Faber have sent me some books and that I've absolutely hated and been quite savage about them, but they still continue sending me books, and I definitely wouldn't just talk positively about a book just because I didn't want to jeopardize a relationship with a publisher or something like that. And but yeah, it's just it's something that I've seen mentioned a number of times on channels of all these creators are just being positive because they want to develop a good relationship with a publisher, which is either naive on the creator's part, thinking that will be the way to make a relationship with a publisher, but also on the majority of publishers just really want honest responses to
you definitely don't do that anyway, because I remember is it Sarah Bernstein, the study of obedience or something like that? It was and because I remember you not liking that first of all, but you did obviously go back and reread it, and then sort of I think your opinion changed slightly, but
still not my favorite book, but but definitely developed more appreciation for, and which is another reason why I enjoy following book prizes so much, in that I think the judges and the prize are saying that this is a book that you should really take your time with and consider, whereas if you were just reading it on your own, outside of any of that context, then you might just think oh, I'm really not getting on with this book, and just set it aside. And there are definitely books like that, I think, that are worth the effort and kind of what feels initially like hard work to put into it, but that ultimately is really satisfying and will make the reading experience so much richer.
I think that since we have been mentioning the Book Awards a few times, it might be a good time to move into discussion of this year's Women's Prize for Fiction longlist. Announced yesterday. Eric had a very good post on Instagram that helped me figure out exactly what had been listed, because I was in work. What do we think about this year's longlist?
And what are your top picks from, I guess, both the non-fiction and from the fiction? Because obviously we've got both this year as well. So
I've only just started diving into them and reading them since they're both fairly recent, though with
very recent in the case of the Women's Prize. For us as a recording, it was literally yesterday.
Yesterday it was announced, although I had a bit of an advance notice because the prize had kindly sent me all the books, but I think before I knew what the list was, I've read 4 of the books, and currently I'm reading Gloria Don't Speak from the list, which I was I'd never heard of before. Although Ben over at Ben Reads Goods, he did predict that this was going to be on the Women's Prize list. So props to Ben for for picking this out, and she was also an Observer best debut of novelist of this year, and has a really striking, cool cover. But overall, I'm from the Booker Prize shortlist last year of Audition and Flashlight. I was really glad to see them on this list as well, especially Flashlight, which was my kind of joint favorite to win the Booker last year, and I think is just such a fantastic novel. It's so many elements to it. Both on it's really personal story and intimate story of a family, but also says so much more about larger politics, and so yeah, I'm glad to see it get more recognition. Although it's very surprising, I think that I mean, from the Booker Prize last year and some overlap with the Women's Prize, that Kieran Desai's novel *The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny* wasn't on the long list. I thought that was really surprising. Actually, I was speaking with the publisher last night, because last night I was at the ceremony,
Luminaries.
the Nero Book Awards. Yeah. It makes me feel very glamorous. I'm just like,
You are
book
glamorous.
prizes like left and right. But it's just, I think it's just like book prize season, and so yeah, all these things are like converging at once. But yeah, I was talking with the publisher, and like we were very surprised too that it wasn't listed for the prize, and it was really sweet. The woman from the publisher I was speaking to, she's like, I kept checking my inbox and to see if I'd like missed a message about her and Desai being on the awards. So yeah, I think it was is kind of sad that didn't make the list. But then at the same time, it's good that it's much more mixed list of with, I think that there are several books that I'd never heard of before, and yeah, I'm quite glad that it's not just like a reproduction of the Booker Prize list, which can be like quite dull, and obviously like Kieran Desai is very well known, like very well read author already. So yeah, it's much more cool that that there are a lot more books that most readers hadn't heard of before, and also from independent publishers like Weather Glass Books and Dead Ink Books, and so that's really exciting to see as well. And yeah, from the nonfiction list, I mean, Arundhati Roy's memoir was one of my top reads of last year. Such a brilliant book. So yeah, and that was the only book that. Oh no! I'd also read *Daughters of the Bamboo Grove* before the long list was announced for the nonfiction award, which is very good too. A really fascinating story, but. Yeah, and from that list, I've only had a chance to read Lise Doucet's book, the Best Hotel in Kabul, already, which was also a really fascinating history of a region, and really different take on a region of the modern history of Afghanistan, which I was certainly only familiar with the country through kind of news headlines and just, what we see generally put out in journalism. So to get a really personal take on the country and the conflicts it's been going through in the past decades through the people who actually live there and are living through it was really moving and powerful, I think. And that's a book too that's got several nominations. It was listed for the Nero Book Awards, as well as the Baillie Gifford Prize last year. And I just always think that's a really good sign when a book is on multiple book awards, because I know some readers will be critical of that and say like, oh, the judges of awards are just they're all nominating the same books, but I think the judges for different book awards are obviously all different, and reading them in different contexts, and so that are probably forming this unanimous opinion more coincidentally, rather than just saying like oh, well, this is a book that obviously should be on the list, but are kind of independently finding the excellence in these books. And so yeah, I think they're both really intriguing and exciting lists. But what do you guys think? What have you read from the list so far, and what are you most excited about?
From the nonfiction, I recently finished the To Exist As I Am by Grace Spence Green. That was amazing. It's just so good. Really think you'll like that one, Eric. I'm excited for the fiction. There's so many. I'm just so excited just to get to. It depends on what I can get to at the library first, to be honest. But my top picks probably Dominion. I'm excited for the Benefactors. Obviously, I mean, there's quite a few. There's some loads of other ones, but yeah. How about you, Charlie?
I only read Audition from the fiction long list. As we know, didn't know many. Well, actually, I think I knew about 4 from the fiction long list, and 2 of those were simply because of the Booker, and the other 2 were just because we're very fortunate to have so many people making predictions. But I am looking forward to the Benefactors. I can't remember who I saw had put a post online this morning about it. I was like, yes, I think I like the sound of that one.
So good. Yeah. Honestly, really skillfully written, and so emotionally impactful, and to balance, because it's a novel that's made up of so many different voices, to balance all those voices and not feel like it's, or at least I didn't feel like it was like juddering, and I wasn't like confused about what was going on. I mean, I didn't always understand completely how it all fit together, but I kind of didn't care. I think with reading the Benefactors, you just kind of have to go with it, and then figure out how all the connections work with each other, or maybe like on a rereading, if you ever did a rereading of it. That, but I think that's kind of the best kind of reading experience when I'm reading a book and I can really enjoy it for the initial experience, but also see that there's lots of elements to this and lots of complexity to it that thinking about it more or rereading it will make it an even richer experience. So, which obviously, with so many books to read, you don't want to feel like you have to be rereading all the time. But if I can enjoy it so much on the initial experience and find that rewarding, like in itself, but then it also makes me excited to think that, oh, at some point, if I go back to this, I'll enjoy it even more, and it'll develop more layers. And yeah, that's, I think, the best kind of books. And I think the Benefactors is definitely one like
Oh,
that.
fantastic. We love a reread. Well, I do anyway. I'm
Yeah,
not
with-
sure about Charlie.
No, I do. And with the rereading, with you being a judge for the book prize, is that it means you obviously will be rereading? Is it nice that you get the guilt-free opportunity to do that? And also, how many times do you actually have to reread the books for the book prizes?
There's no requirement to. I'm trying to remember any of the judging that I've done, but no, the only one was when I was a judge on the Costa Book Awards, when the Costa Book Awards were still going, and yeah, we had to reread the books that were like the finalists before the end. So it's very well known with like the Booker Prize that the judges will reread will read them at least 3 times, I think, before the winner is announced, or at least, that's what they say. But I sort of wonder sometimes whether the judges actually will reread them all. But yeah, I mean, definitely, it's a nice thing to think that, because if I'm judging a book award, I want to like take it really seriously and take the books really seriously. And so it is a nice thing to have that opportunity to say like, oh no, what I really should be going back and rereading this or rereading passages of it to really feel like I understand it a lot better and can better form my opinions about it. Yeah.
I think we're nearly out of time, but so we'll round things up now. So thank you so much for joining us today. The last thing we always say to ask our guests is to tell us a recent happy moment. It can be like a bookish one, like obviously, or whatever. So if you want to share, if you'd like to share a recent happy moment with us, and don't worry, Charlie can edit this bit out.
No, it's fine. I just know that Charlie is determined to get everyone to start making boxes of happiness.
Oh, it's just a lovely thing. And I guess one like the happy moment I had recently, I had the incredible good fortune opportunity to interview George Saunders recently. We had a funny moment when I was going to, because I was told by his publisher Bloomsbury that I'd strictly only half an hour to speak with him for an interview, and we did it first thing in the morning at the Bloomsbury offices, and so they said that I should get there early to set up, and so I wanted to make sure I had plenty of time to set up. So I got there quite early, and this was like around like 8 or 8:30 in the morning that I arrived at the offices, which I didn't realize the offices weren't actually open at that point. So I was standing outside and was buzzing. Nobody was answering, and so I was going away to sit on a bench, and along walks George Saunders, and he arrived, and he tried buzzing as well, and it was and obviously no one was there, so we were just sort of stood outside in the offices together, and we're just having a casual chat, and he's so nice and lovely, and if it was a very chilly morning, but if it was a nice nicer morning, I would have suggested there was like a little park nearby. I would have suggested we just like go sit in the park, and I could set up my camera and equipment and I could have just interviewed him in the park right there. But as it was, because it was so chilly, and his hotel was around the corner. After a few minutes, he was like, "I think I'm going to go back to the hotel and warm up a bit, and then come back later." But yeah, just have that kind of private like moment with him, just chatting with him was like such a joyous and special thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's so lovely. Oh, I love that so much, Eric. That's just brilliant. Especially must have made the whole interview when you did start the interview much easier as well because you'd already had those.
Yeah, it felt like we already had a slight connection. I mean, I wouldn't presume to say that. That was particularly like remarkable for him. I'm sure it wasn't, but yeah, that we we're able to get into the chat a bit easier.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us today, though, Eric. So yeah, thanks for joining us and chatting with us today. Like, we're so grateful that you've like joined us on the podcast.
Especially when it's such a nice spring day out there.
It is, yeah. I've been aware that at any moment the sun is going to come around and come through the window and will be like blinding me. So
that's why I had to put my
multiple
curtain
curtains are being used around these parts. But yeah, thank you very much. It has been completely wonderful, and I think we're both quite thrilled to have got the opportunity to speak today. So yes.
Oh, it's been really lovely. Yeah. Thanks so much for inviting me. It's really been lovely chatting with you, Charlie and Charlie. And I'm looking forward to seeing any of the books on the Women's Prize lists that you get to read and your responses to them, and chatting with you about them more.
Yes,
Thanks,
thank you
Eric.
very much. Bye.